The sun has set exactly at 5:21 this evening, about half an hour ago. The twilight has passed, and so the night has just begun, only a few minutes ago. This allows me to introduce myself as a confabulator nocturni. I came across this term in a book by Jorge Luis Borges called 7 Nights, Siete Noches, a collection of 7 lectures he gave in Buenos Aires in 1977. In one of these lectures, which is about the 1001 Nights, he refers to confabulatores nocturni, men whose profession is to tell stories during the night. An ancient Persian text reports that the first person who gathered these men of the night to tell stories in order to ease his insomnia was Alexander of Macedon. I am saying this because tonight I will walk you through a series of anecdotes, unclear if they were from real events or from dream of some sorts. Although, is there such thing as non-fictional anecdotes? From the moment we begin to narrate a story, we are garnishing it with fabrication, or in other words, fiction. The fragmented story you will hear tonight are centered around one protagonist, an unknown body in an unknown landscape, both literally and metaphorically. Tonight, these anecdotes won't be the one with insomnia, but for those with bodies in between and minds in limbo. You can inside the terminal of an airport. At a moment, the protagonist of our story came to realize the act of moving, but more significantly, the fact of living. Seated, waiting, drinking, thinking. As a habit, whenever becoming emotionally perturbed, he entered into a monologue with himself. He started making strange parallel between drinking water and his departure. As I drink this water, the liquid is moving from the bottle to my mouth. But more importantly, it is coming out of the bottle. It is leaving it permanently. I am myself in the same situation. I am moving away from my hometown, but I am also leaving it. And when I say when I'm leaving, what is leaving? My mind, my body, or both? The continuation of these thoughts was getting unexcited and repetitive. So as a storyteller of the night, I allowed myself to cut this part short. Nonetheless, he was happy about the parallel he made, without realizing there was a complexity and an intensity to them. Inside the plane, he picked a magazine from the front pocket of his seat and flipped through the glossy catalog with shiny images and exciting text about discovering new frontiers. It was a magazine that wished to offer the best deals for your happiness. In a section about the top 10 romantic getaways for couples in Lebanon, there was a poem written with an ugly calligraphic font about Beirut. In this poem, there was a line that has stayed with him since. Your identity is your prison. As much it was a strange pick by the editor for such romantic experience, he was very moved by it. He took out his notebook and wrote down this sentence: your identity is your prison. And in parentheses, he noted the name of the poet, Etel Adnan. When a body enters, it means it has left another place. When a body enters a new place, it means it has abandoned itself. When a body enters, it should know that once it passes a certain point, it must continue to exit. As a confabulator nocturnus, I would like to remind you that you are hearing is the story of an unknown body, a body that is unable to be here and there at the same time, a body that is physically bound to a landscape, to a corner store, to a cloud, a body that abandoned itself elsewhere yesterday or many years ago. And the mind that is here and there and in other places, in limbo. A mind confused in languages, a mind between places, a mind that shifts between night and day, in a twilight of places, a mind that fluctuates between different time zones. Where are you from? I'm from... Really? So cool. Okay, thank you very much. Where are you from? I'm from... If you don't mind me asking, where is that? Where are you from? I'm from... Wow, that's awesome, dude. My fiancé and I are really like your country. We totally know that the show in the media is exaggerated. I just read an article in the New York Times that women can bike in certain parks, right? How are things there, by the way? Where are you from? Actually, I wanted to ask you that question. Where are you from? I was born and raised in New York. Where is that? You are you, even with an abandoned body. You are you, in between places. You are you, even when you don't want to be you. You are you, swimming in a mirage, waiting in limbo, permanently liminal, waiting for a decision or a resolution. You are you, waiting for that call, waiting for that mail, waiting for a day that could be written down in an imaginary calendar. You are you, stuck in between papers, warrant of arrest of alien, notice of rights, form I-777, notice of confirmation, notice to appear, temporary driving license, status update, aliens change of address card, form I-765, application for work authorization, work permit, notice of denial, aliens personal report. At least they sometimes mail you these papers in color, refreshing blue, romantic pink, organic green. By the way, where are you from? Because your identity is your prison. The best conversations often happen in barber shops and immigration offices. You sometimes hear things that are like poetry to the ear. All you have to do is to catch them quickly before they disappear in a crowd of noises. Such places remind me of a park where many confabulatores nocturni would gather to narrate stories in old time in Cairo. During one summer, around noon, our protagonist had to visit his immigration officer for his bi-yearly personal report. It was not an important event for him. After all, he got used to these rendezvous. He would bring a paper that would be signed by the officer. Then the officer would write down a date in 6 months for the next visit. The first time, he thought he would be arrested. After a few times of doing these report visits, he began chit-chatting with the officer. He had this theory that if he acted like a normal person and they talk as mates, for example, the most recent baseball match, this would help his proceedings to move faster. During one of these brief encounters, he decided to ask a question that was lingering in his mind for a while. What is my current status, by the way? You? Well, it's hard to say. You are not illegal, but you are not legal either. One year, he decided to do something special for Christmas to prevent the sadness of a holiday that didn't mean anything to him. He had no connection to this tradition, no family around, and he couldn't grasp how the new year could begin in the middle of the cold. For this year, he thought to use a car-sharing app where you can book a spot in a car to go to whatever destination with some other strangers. He chose an unknown location based on its name, the one that was the most unheard and alien to him. He found a car with a driver named Jennifer. He booked a place and paid the fee. When he went to the meeting point, it was only him and the driver, because who else would go somewhere on Christmas Day? She looked young enough, as she was not eligible to drive. He immediately liked the girl, but couldn't tell why. Maybe because she was foreign to him, a blonde, exotic girl named Jennifer that could make the ride on uneventful highways very pleasant. Those highways look like an old video game of car racing where the road repeats itself on loop. Only the brand of the gas station change every few miles and the chain of the fast food restaurants. But they are always red because apparently it increases people's appetites and make them hungry. She asked if it would bother him to listen to some music. He said something like with pleasure, while it wasn't the right way to answer such question. She put La Sonnambula by Vincenzo Bellini while driving quite fast. He realized he had never put these two things together, classical music and driving fast, or even driving. Nonetheless, he never liked classical music. It was something unfamiliar to him, like an unknown language. But the magic happens when you are not expecting it. Since the day he left, he hadn't been able to stop thinking about his own body he had left behind some time ago. But as she pushed harder on the gas pedal, he began to forget about it. Suddenly, a soft smile covered his face. He was enjoying this moment very much. His eyes were getting moist because of speed and emotion. The joy of a new revelation, the option to stay in limbo, suspended from any place, detached from the past, abandoning the future. Why didn't I see this before? He shut his eyes, forgetting about the body, while enjoying the aftertaste of the burger with extra cheese. He wanted to impress Jennifer. He had learned this trick with foreigners to say something like, in my country, in my town, in my culture. He screamed in the wind. In my native language, there is a word for the wind when it is soft and caressing. In a disengaging way, she replied, "You mean breeze?" My identity is my prison, but the day I will be living nowhere, when I will be staying nowhere, and when will I become a person from nowhere, then what? Where are you from? I'm from nowhere. The car was speeding more and more, as if there was no speed limit. The engine sounded like a plane ready to take off. His eyes were closed, his ears were hearing the noise of the surrounding, and he began to dream. Those dreams when you are both conscious and unconscious, moving between the two states. When your mind goes elsewhere, while you can still hear the noise, in this case the sound of the engine of the car, which was converting to the sound of a plane. The sound brought him again inside an airport terminal. A terminal different from the one we began our story with. A terminal with only exit signs hanging all over the place. Once you pass this point, you must continue to exit. The moment you exist, the suspension begins. Because the hallway never ends, and the waiting begins. But what if he didn't exist? But what if he didn't exit? He was waiting for this moment, in a dream or not, to be in a place like this. What if he just stayed in a place that is between here and there, because you are not here and still you haven't arrived there yet, or the other way around? I told you once before, once you pass this point, you must continue to exit. Last week, I sent an email to invite someone to this event, someone whose body is not here with us tonight. However, her mind and her words are quite present at this very moment. Because in the email she sent me to say she was not able to come, she wrote a relatively confusing quote as a goodbye line. Never lose your grace, that is the power of a song. I am still puzzled about why she wrote this to me. Am I losing my grace?